Hi everyone, it's Dave here and I'm back after a good few weeks away. I said in my last video that I wanted to take some time or needed to take some time away and for myself to recharge my batteries and to reinvigorate. So here I am, I'm back. I really wasn't in a good place emotionally, mentally, physically. I was drained and exhausted and I really did need that time away. I am feeling better now, certainly nowhere near my best, but I'm feeling a little bit more energized. So I said last time about I wanted to also use the time to remove myself from any media and social media influences and just to try to, take some time away from the insanity, craziness and madness that is enveloping this world and see if my perspective alters in any way. So this is what this video is, really. And just to say as well, I'm not planning on creating a video a day or doing a post a day on Facebook like I was during the summer. I'm just going to create as and when I feel the need to, because I don't want to put pressure on myself. So being honest, my overall view, I am still very, very gloomy, concerned, deeply concerned, fearful and worried about what we have become in this country and where we're headed. I do think that we're on the verge of catastrophe. It's been like watching a slow motion car crash for months for me this now. Waiting for people to realise that the car's about to crash, yet still too many people are not. Now there are some positives because many people are waking up and I'll come to that a little bit later on. But broadly speaking, no, I think the population it continues to show itself to be too compliant, too obedient, to a large degree, too stupid to question still, too cowardly, and I'm not using these words lightly. I think if the measures that have been implemented, if they would have even dared to do that, to impart these measures and these restrictions on our daily lives in response to a fairly minor threat, which in the context of the threats faced by mankind throughout the eons of human civilization, let us not forget this is a mild threat. I think 50 years ago, even 20 years ago, I think populations across the world, certainly in liberal Western democracies, like we used to have in this country, would have stuck two fingers up to the government and said no. But as I've said before, I think we've become far too comfortable, far too cosseted, far too accustomed to giving answers rather than asking questions. There's a high level of naivety. And unfortunately a cowardice as well that exists. It's very, very widespread within our population. So we've let the government ride roughshod over us, and here we are. Now I live on a street which has two schools, and I've observed over the last couple of weeks a tendency for more and more parents to be walking down the street wearing face masks in the fresh air. I find it deeply disturbing and dispiriting and depressing, to be honest with you, because I think that, as has happened in other countries, the mandating of face masks outside, regardless of where you are, city or country, will be mandated here as well shortly. Mainly for the reason that people seem to be voluntarily doing that anyway, without it being enforced or policed in any way. That will not be going unnoticed by the powers that be. And I think, again, it's just a demonstration, really, of how remiss many people are with regard to throwing away what we had, all the good things that we had, all of our freedoms, our ways of life. And I continue to ask the question, and it continues to remain unanswered. What is the end game? For anybody, whether they are in full support of lockdown measures or partially support them, at what point do people say enough is enough and we need to take back or to try to take back the freedoms that we've lost? You know, the ability to visit loved ones in hospital, the ability to have as many people at funerals as we want and not have to socially distance. The ability to be able to send kids to school without the fear of them being sent home because someone in the year's been tested positive for coronavirus. The ability to be able to go to the pub, the ability to socialise and to see our friends and family without breaking the law. Now, I was at there are some positives. I was at a anti-lockdown protest in Liverpool on Saturday. Now, these protests have been reported very, very negatively by the mainstream media, and of course they have, because they're absolute liars. The positive for me was that despite the divide and the differences in opinion, certainly politically amongst the thousands of people that were there was a real spirit of togetherness and unity, because everybody was united with one common message, which was to give us back our freedoms that we've lost. It was a peaceful protest, and there was a real, like I say, a real spirit of togetherness and positivity, and it was good to feed off that energy. And the conversation as well was very positive, which brings me to my next point. I do think you can divide the population into three, broadly speaking. I think there are those at the protest who are able to look at a situation in part individual judgment, to look at evidence from various different sources and to research and to essentially be able to think for themselves and to ask questions. I think you've got those who are also intelligent, have the ability to ask questions, but who are buying into, there's the saying, an idea so stupid only an intellectual could buy into it. These intellectuals, unfortunately, often end up in positions of power and are able to impose their basket case ideas on the rest of us. Those people are few and far between, but they are they are there. And then you've got the people who are just still blindly and pretty stupidly, I think, just accepting anything that the TV tells them, that the BBC tells them and the government tells them, and still aren't questioning. The positives are that there are now more people, and I know this for a fact, that are in the first camp and that are questioning everything that they've been told. And the shock and the astonishment that unfolds, I think, when people realise maybe that they've been duped to a large degree, is unfortunate, but it's also necessary, because I think this world isn't what many of us thought that it was before this year. Obviously the virus itself has there is a resurgence in it, as there was always bound to. However, yet again, the predictions of the scientists advising the government haven't come to fruition. And yet again, we're left with the conversation: why these draconian measures, and why is an alternative approach not being taken? One that does guard and shield and protect those who are most vulnerable, but one that allows the rest of us to be able to rebuild our lives, to rebuild the economy, and to regain everything that we've lost. I find it so disturbing, though. I really, really do, how willing and compliant people are in embracing these measures. I mean, I'll ask again, please, somebody tell me, what's the end goal? Why are you not speaking out? What do you think? Where do you think this is all going to end up? What reason can you give me why the government will all of a sudden give us back our freedoms? Tell me what the end goal is, please. And if there's no answer to that question, I would say, yet again, where's the protest? Where's the rebellion? Where's the dissent? Or where's the questions? To anybody who has changed their opinion, kudos to you. Amazing. I love you for it. The next step now is to take it to the next level, start going on protests, start creating content and just show dissent where you can. Other positives, I do think that, again, contrary to how the media is portraying the US election, Trump's going to win it, and I think he's going to win convincingly. And I think what will happen then is there'll be a real fundamental shift in the way that the Americans are dealing with this threat, as Trump is unleashed in his second term. And I think he's made it pretty clear that he wants to return back to economic and social liberalism. And I think that the knock-on effect that will have for countries across the rest of the world will be quite telling, or that's what I'm hoping anyway, particularly countries like the UK that are allied very closely to the US and will need to remain more so post-Brexit, providing Trump does win, of course. I think that the influence of the Trump government on the UK could potentially nudge us in a new direction with regard to how we're dealing with this virus. Also, there are rumours as well that the UK government is consulting with different scientists and is considering different scientific opinion. Of course, it's never going to admit that it got it wrong. And there won't be a sudden change in direction, but the fact that again, I think as well, the fact that Boris Johnson has resisted calls for a national lockdown from large sections of the media and Labour is a good thing. I have actually reconsidered my opinion of Boris Johnson. Again, I do think he's starting to show his libertarian instincts to a degree, which is obviously a good thing. However, I do think the Conservative Party's been infiltrated by communists. I do. I think it's got a lunatic as its health secretary, a psychotic lunatic, Matt Hancock, who I think is enjoying the power that he's been given. And I think those two scientists, Dr. Death, Chris Whitty, Dr. Doom, Patrick Vallance, have so much to answer for. They've been wrong in so many ways. Again, I think it's important to say, it's any life lost according to as a result of this virus is sad, but the damage, the lives lost, the economic catastrophe, the businesses ruined, the mental health epidemic, the suicides that have resulted, and the effect that it's had on our old people and on our children is catastrophic and disastrous and so sad. And none of this was ever justified right from the start. And it's certainly not justified now. So I still feeling quite pessimistic overall. I don't think there's enough public dissent yet. I think it's only going to gather. But the tipping point when you go too far into totalitarianism and authoritarianism, where it's impossible to get out, is very, very close now. Very close. So again, I would say my message is the same as 6 weeks ago, really. Let's have a conversation. People ask questions, please. Anyone who's supporting any of these measures, explain to me how it's justified, how it's proportionate, how it's a good idea, and tell me that it is not beyond insanity. Because I think more and more people are starting to realise that what's happened to this country is unforgivable. Anyway, there we are. Can't think of anything else to say for the time being, so that's my message. And yeah, welcome any comments, and I will speak to you soon. Okay, bye bye.